Well, Prithvi, thank you for helping with my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure, Nathan. So I'm Pruthvi, and I work as a software engineer at Veritas Technologies. So we work on different products, and also especially I work on net backup, working on some defects and debugs that people see in their software. Yeah, yeah. I've been in Minneapolis for some time now, like 3 years since I used to work with you before when I was in Anplan. And yeah, that's pretty much about me.
I have a question for you. Just kind of like one of those high-level philosophical questions.
Yeah, sure.
It seems like our incidence of bugs with software development is actually going up over time instead of decreasing.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that. So, yeah, it depends on the type of customer that's using our software or any other software. So we think of something and do it, but people try to explore it a lot and they want new features. So all the bugs that come becomes new features in the product.
So I have a question for you. Um, why do you think it's so hard to make bug-free software? Like, w- what is it that makes that so difficult?
So in my opinion, it's there won't be a bug-free software because when you try to explore it as much as possible and when you want to use it in a different ways, you always want to have a new technicality or a new functionality out of the software. So whenever something comes up as a bug, it means that they want it as a feature in their product. I mean, they want to use it in a new way. I mean, it helps us. I mean, to think in a broad way and understand the product more and think more about the customer needs and all.
That's true. I mean, the difference. I mean, you can't really control the environment in which the software runs. You have all these computing platforms, versions of the OS, all these libraries that are constantly changing,
Yeah.
people using it in all sorts of different ways. Okay, another just kind of out there curiosity question. What's your favorite programming language?
So I like Java a lot, and yeah, I'm a little old fashioned. I like C, C++, and Java. Yeah.
And when do you use C, C++ versus Java? Like, what's the decision?
Uh, so that's it basically depends how widely you want to spread. You want to give your software out. There are pros and cons for each of them. It's not like you have to use a particular one. It just depends on how efficiently you want to write your program or a software. So
Yeah, do you find yourself using like both of them, like creating stuff in C and then using like J and I to
yeah,
expose it?
so, yeah. So most of our systems are being written in C, C++. So I work on them sometimes because some customers are using the product still. And for new things, I we use Java and Python sometimes. So yeah, I just mix and match everything whenever I do something.
I remember, Sun Microsystems when they were around before
Yeah.
they got bought by Oracle. Um, they had like this vision of Java running everywhere. Like, they had like this genie idea where, everything would be exposing services and there would be like all this discovery and interoperability and everything would be running Java. And it seems to me that we've really kind of gotten far away from that vision. And I was wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Uh, I'm not exactly sure if we are away from it because most of the time people use Java. I see Java everywhere usually. But yeah, since some time people have been using different things because there are new things that came up which Java doesn't do and other things do. So probably that might be the reason.
It's also kind of interesting, back during the Sun days. people were thinking about Java being a client-side language and running on the client, but now like most of its application are actually server side.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, most of them are on the server side now. I mean, Java is in like it's integrated with some many other things. Like I've been working on a project with the GraphQL recently. So you can integrate GraphQL and you can use it as a server when you integrate it with Java, and you can use it as on the on the client side too. So I find sometimes it's interesting what it's been started for and what it's been using.
And were you always interested in like computer science and computers, or was there at some point that you remember suddenly getting interested in this field?
Yeah. So while I was doing my bachelor's, I did my bachelor's in electronics and communications. Then later on, I was start when I finished my bachelor's, I started working for a software services company where I started working on databases, things like I worked on Oracle and stuff. That got me curious, and I wanted to learn more about it. Then I quit my job. Then I came to the US to do my master's. So yeah, but when I was working for that service-based company, that's when I got my interest to do more, to learn more about computer science and all.
And were so what got you into like the electrical engineering?
Mm, no, I think one of my uncles suggested to take that. I was very young. I don't know what to do. So
Yeah, it's funny, who we grow up with
yeah,
really affects kind of like the span of careers that we even consider.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
yeah, I finished my junior college in plus one and plus two. So in India, we have this system where you have to write an entrance, like SAT here in the US. So I did, and I mean, all around 200,000 people write it to get admission into the colleges. So yeah, I got a rank around 9,000 out of 200,000.
wow.
So then, then I was very young. I don't know what to do. So I've reached out to my uncle, my dad's brother. So he helped me understand what things are, what different kind of degrees you have, and which one suits you best. Then back then I thought that would be nice, really cool, working on circuits, designing circuits, understanding electrical components, writing code in writing code for microprocessors and controllers. Yeah, so that's how I went into electrical engineering. So
That also kind of explains why you might like C,
yeah,
being down there with the bits,
yeah,
the registers and the stacks and
yeah.
all that
So
good
we
stuff.
used to do some circuit analysis back then. So we used to write little bits of codes. So that's how I got interested in that. Maybe.
Um, I, it's really difficult. Like kids growing up, if they grow up in like a family where like the parents are like doctors, they're around medicine all the time. That seems like natural. And
Yeah.
if they're growing up in a family of like engineers, then you have that. And if they're growing up in like business people, then you have that. And you have if somebody grows up in like a family with like actors and movie directors, then they know about all those careers. But it's almost like people really don't get the full choice of careers when they grow up. It's really limited to.
Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe it's the influence of the parents or the people around them that kids have or youngsters have. Like when while growing up, they see them and they think that might be the only thing doing it, or they don't have a wide exposure about other things. So probably it's just the influence.
And do you see any um, challenges or problems with that, or do you think that's okay?
Uh, I am not sure exactly how to answer that, but yeah, I see it as a problem because there are, like you said, there are like wide variety of things that people can do. But when you are biased and when you are when you think about one thing and you grow up about that, Maybe you are stuck to that, or you only want to do that, nothing else, because there are a lot of things to explore. So
And yeah, I mean, because
yeah,
your family helps with the
for example, like me, I wanted to be a doctor always when I was a kid.
really.
Yeah, but then most of my family are software engineers, so I couldn't help that.
But do you remember why you wanted to be a doctor?
Sorry.
Do you remember why you wanted to be a doctor?
Oh, so you're asking me, do I
Uh-huh.
remember? Yeah,
If you remember
yeah.
what
I
made
mean,
you.
I when I was very young, I wanted to, and it seems to be fascinating. I used to watch shows on TV and all. So I thought it would be cool saving people's life, or finding something new, cure to new diseases, something like that. Yeah.
Do you ever watch like Big Bang Theory?
Not much. I watched here bits and pieces here and then.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, you have like Sheldon and oh, I forget the other character's name, but they're like scientists and engineers and
Yeah.
they're it's kind of like a fun little show. I'm not sure if we're laughing at them or with them, but
I,
do you think a show like that's useful for kind of like expanding people's ideas on like different fields to go into,
yeah, probably that they might help.
or maybe make them scared? They're like, I don't want to be a Sheldon.
No, when you know something, at least the basics of it, it's gonna be interesting. So I would suggest like people to know what they're talking, because that doesn't make it. The show doesn't make any sense if you don't understand what they're talking, right? So
That's true.
yeah,
Oh, well, what are some of your hobbies?
yeah. So uh, I do some drawings and sketches when I'm free, or I love traveling. I've been traveling since this pandemic started. I mean, I've been visiting national parks and stuff. So, and um, I like to play volleyball a lot. So I go out with friends, play volleyball. Yeah, and I play Call of Duty a lot. So I stick to the in the evenings.
So how many of Minnesota's 10,000 lakes have you visited?
I didn't count them, but probably uh, a good number of them. I didn't count them, but yeah, I've visited a good amount of them.
That's great. I mean, going out in nature seems like a very great way to be like COVID safe and still maintain your sanity.
Yeah, I mean, I stay very close to a lake, so right next to the lake, we are in a lake house. So
That's
it's
awesome.
yeah,
Did you go ice fishing whenever it froze over?
yeah. I wanted to go, but I'm scared of going on ice and sitting on the ice for some time. So
Uh,
I wanted to try it. Maybe I'll try this winter. Last winter was like not very cold. Probably I'm expecting colder winters this year, so I might.
and you mentioned you play a board game or something in the evenings. I didn't quite catch the name of it.
Yeah, I play. I play PS4,
Oh,
PlayStation.
PS4.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I play Call of Duty sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's neat. Yeah, my children, I mean, whenever I say children, they're like 22 and 18, but they love this Nintendo Switch game called Brawl.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I know that.
they play that all the time.
Yeah, I know.
uh, I have trouble getting into it. Mainly probably because I lose all the time. Maybe that's it.
You just need to practice it for something.
Yeah, that's what they tell me too, but they're
Yeah,
already ahead, so like there's no chance of
I
catching
know.
up. So did you know that NASA is planning to send people to the moon in 2024 for the first time since 1972?
Yeah, I know that. I'm following it. I'm not exactly following it every day or something like that, but I follow it for some time. So I know that they're doing this program called Artemis, and trying to send humans to the moon after 1972, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, would you believe that 80% of the people I ask don't know about it?
Mm, yeah, I think so. I'll believe it because I'm not sure like people are into space and all. Uh, yeah.
And what do you think about it?
Uh, yeah, I think, I mean, I have a good feeling about it because mm, I mean, it's expanding beyond our horizons. Like you just explore new things, go find out what exactly it's made of or what it is. Do you have, can we find something new? Is life sustainable beyond Earth? And I mean, was there any life before? I mean, there are like a lot of curious questions that most of us want to know. So I have a good feeling about it. Like,
Um, whenever you say, is there life before us or is there life other place in the universe? It seems like the question we keep trying to answer for ourselves is humanity special? And it seems like that every time we get an answer, the answer is no. Yeah,
I mean, the answer is no yet, but we haven't still explored a lot of it. I mean, we don't know yet. We don't know, right? I mean, if there is life out there or there isn't. So
yeah. I mean, I think back to like ancient times. The perception I have of their perceptions is that they thought the world was flat, and
yeah.
this was just the entire universe, and those were just kind of magical things happening in the sky. And then we learned that the Earth was round, but it's still okay because we're the center of the universe. So the sun goes around the Earth. And then we learned that the Earth is not the center of the universe, that it goes around the sun. But we're the only planet, that has life. And then we learned that there's actually every single sun in the universe appears to have planets of some type, and it's just a matter of time before we find maybe people like us.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. We have so many stars when you look at in the night sky, and every star has its own planets, and every planet has their own moon. So it's possible there might be life out there, or there might be people like us. Yeah. Yep.
And humanity has been here for thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. I'm not sure. Um, but we've only been emitting electromagnetic waves for like the past 150 years.
Hmm.
So there's really no, I mean, just thinking about what you could detect over those vast differences, in some respects, we've only been detectable for like 150 of those, 10,000, 100,000 years.
Yeah. So I'm new to the topic that you spoke, that electromagnetic radiation and all. But I think we are not there yet. We still need to be have more technology and more power to know about what's going on outside our reach. Like you said, people going to moon, maybe Mars, then you know what's happening out there.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking of is if there were other planets around other systems that had intelligent life,
Mhm.
and they only got up to like the steam age, back whenever everything was all mechanical and they weren't actually transmitting radio waves, how will we be able to detect them?
Maybe I'm not sure how we're gonna detect them. I mean, we might or we might not. Like I said, we might need more technology and more power and more bigger transmitters or bigger receivers that we have right now. So yeah, we maybe time decides if we know them or we don't. So
There's this book, a science fiction book written by a Chinese author called
mhm.
The Three Body Problem.
Okay.
And in it, he proposes that the reason we haven't been able to detect other civilizations is because the universe is actually a very dangerous place.
Okay.
That there's constant, like anytime that intelligence develops someplace, the other intelligences get really scared about it and go and destroy it. And so, in order to be safe, all the life in the universe has learned to hide itself from each other. And we're like in a dark forest, and we're like little children who've built like this campfire. And it's just a matter of time before the wolves and stuff come and
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe he's true. Like sometimes we get scared, right? When we see powerful things or whenever we hear something new or something that we don't understand, we fear about it. Probably that might be true. Like you, whenever you find something new and they're more advanced, and you are scared that they might do something to you, or we are more advanced and they are scared that we might do something to them. So probably might be a possibility that someone's hiding or someone's scared. Yeah.
Um, so I've talked to some people who aren't really excited about us going to the moon. They're like, why are we spending billions of dollars to send astronauts to the moon when we have all these problems on Earth? Global climate change, social justice, maybe poverty, a war. I mean, look at what's going on in Afghanistan.
Mhm.
Why are we spending that money to send astronauts to the moon? Shouldn't we be using that money to solve problems here on Earth? I was just wondering, how do you think about that sort of conversation?
Sometimes I agree, and then sometimes I don't, because when each problem is a different thing, and you have different ways to solve the problems. So it's not that if you don't spend money on some other things, you have to spend that money on something else. Sometimes any amount of money won't solve the problem. It just I feel I feel it's a good thing to explore new things. It's not just wasting money if you're finding something new, and if you're finding new ways to do it. It's never a waste of money. Or I mean, sometimes we ignore problems. I agree with that, but it's not like we are completely ignoring it or not thinking about it. Uh, so mhm, I would say it's not a waste of money, and it's a good thing because you get to learn new things. You find ways to do new things, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to think back in 1969, whenever Neil and Buzz first stepped foot on the moon, there was about half the world's population as there is now. So now we have like twice the number of brains and problem solvers and thinkers as we did then.
Mhm.
And also, they didn't have the internet, they didn't have the iPhone or Android. If you didn't know something, you went to the library. If you couldn't find a book, you just had to go without knowing that. And if there were people around the world that shared an interest, the only way they could communicate is through like journals and, sending mail that would take, days and weeks
Yes.
to get between each other. Uh, but I mean, like you and I, even though we live in completely different cities, we could actually work on a project together,
Yep.
just as if we were in the same town. And this isn't only limited to us being in the US, but globally. I
Yep.
mean, people around the world can find a project and work on it together.
Yeah. We've been evolved so much. Like in the past couple of decades, things have changed a lot. uh, like you said, people have to wait for a long time to talk to each other via mail. I mean, it's just not direct contact, it's some note or something written in something. But we have progressed so much that you can talk to people anywhere, anytime in the world now. So, and there are double the brains that we have in the past decade. So yeah, uh, I mean, I see it in a good way. I mean, when you put good use to it, I see it in a good way. So yeah, it's a good thing that's happening right now. So
Of course, the other side of it is back then you would have to think a lot more on yourself. Like you couldn't find the answer, so you had to figure it out. Now we feel like all the answers are should be easy to find, and we don't know how to think and solve problems ourselves.
yeah, so back then we don't have this much power of internet using how to use it or how to do it. Uh, but I still feel like we still have problems. I mean, we have some questions that we don't have answers to yet. It's like I know it's we have all the resources and all we have, but we still need more intelligent people and more things and new ways to think of the problem and solve it. Yeah, yes, there is a solution always, but the way of reaching to that and finding that solution is the important thing, I feel.
Absolutely. So when you think out like 100 years, 200 years, 500 years in the future,
Mhm.
what does humanity look like to you?
That's a hypothetical question, so I'm not sure how to answer it, because you never know. Like the pandemic happened last year, no one expected it to happen, or no one expected it to go on a global scale and cause so much trouble to people. So I'm not sure what to answer about it, but I always wanted to think in an optimistic way. So everything might be good. So
Well,
we
let me ask you a series of straightforward questions, and you
sure.
could tell me more or less.
Okay.
So the number of people in the world,
So more,
a number of languages,
less,
a number of currencies.
less,
Um, let's see, the number of planets that humanity inhabits.
more.
Um, yeah, it'd be bad because if it was less, it'd be zero, right?
Yeah, we just have one planet, as far as we know now. So
Of course, Jeff Bezos thinks that we should be building these kind of like huge space stations to live in, and then kind of use Earth as a natural refuge for just life. And
yeah, I mean, I feel it's a good plan, but it's a long way to get there. It's just not easy. Like for population on Earth and the resources we have right now, it might be possible, but it's gonna take a long time. Like you said, maybe 100, 200 years. I don't know.
yeah, well, if it was safe and affordable, would you go to space?
Yes.
Like, how far would you go?
How far the spaceship take me? I mean, I wanted to go. I mean, it's not like I want to stay there, or I mean, I just want to experience how it feels, how vacuum feels, how light, how weightless you become, and what's outside what's outside our atmosphere. I mean, I just want to experience it, see it, know more about it.
I Most people I ask that to do also want to go to space, but the people that don't, their number one reason is claustrophobia. They don't want to be stuck in a low gravity capsule.
No, I mean, right now in this pandemic, you are stuck to your home. You are stuck to your room. Maybe most of your time you are stuck to your room and around the four walls. So it's just you'll have some equipment out there. That's it, I guess.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Is there any questions that you had or anything that you wanted to talk about?
So how long you've been following this program, and what made you what made you to think you wanted to do this project and talk to people, know more about what people think. So
Yeah. So I think the plans to send people to the moon in 2024 was announced in like February of 2019 after a National Space Council meeting. And NASA hired this guy to lead the effort called Doug Laverio. And in, I think, December, he was at an event where he was showing off this lapel pin he had the number of days to the end of 2024. And so
Mhm.
every day he would go and update the lapel pin to the counting down the days because, I just want to stay focused on that. And he was going around NASA, kind of highlighting the efforts of NASA employees about how they were contributing to the program. And it was during, um, Christmas. And I've been working at home before everybody else was. Now you say you work at home, people are like, yeah,
Yeah,
so what?
I know that. Yeah,
But back in 2019, working from home was a big deal. You know, not everybody was doing it.
yeah,
And so it's like, I want a project that gets me out of the house talking to people in person because I was only seeing the people in my house, which again, everybody else is like, hey, that's all we see. So I came with this idea of interviewing a person a day. I was planning for like a stranger, like at Starbucks or at the store or something like that, just going up to them and talking to them, which I did from December 2019 till like the middle of March 2020. And then with the pandemic, I was really limited to only the people in my house, and that wouldn't get me through many days, so I had to go online. And now that I've started the project and done over 600 interviews, I feel like I had to finish it. So uh,
so and so what what interests you about outer space, or what do you like about doing this project, and how do you feel when talking to new people and knowing about them?
yeah, it's really for me the shift in perspective. Whenever you're living at a house, your range of issues that really get you upset is who's helping me with the dishes, and why can't people turn off the lights after they leave the room, and all these little petty things, but they're like seem so big when you're in the middle of them. But then, you look at like nations and stuff and like, border and territorial wars and things like that. And then you take a bigger look and you realize how small humanity is in comparison to the rest of the universe. And that makes all those kind of bigger conflicts feel like, um, and make all those bigger conflicts feel like they're just as petty as who's going to help me do the dishes. So that's kind of like what I like about it is that um, when you zoom out that far, it it really helps to put in perspective kind of the opportunities and conflicts that we have as people.
Yeah. So what do you think about the other space programs like SpaceX, Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin, or do you follow any other country space programs like China's, India's, or any other programs?
I do. SpaceX, I'm a huge fan of. They're building this completely reusable rocket down in Brownsville, Texas, actually in Boca Chica near Brownsville, Texas. And I visited twice, and it's amazing what's going on there. At some point, I'll be able to fly from Houston to Tokyo in like 30 minutes.
Mhm.
Now that takes like 15 hours. They're talking about having these reusable spacecrafts that can fly 3 times a day, be 100% reusable, and could take you across the world to orbit, to the moon, to Mars. And I think we're only a few years away from them actually having it working. And I think that technology is going to be transformational. But China is amazing. They landed a probe on the moon last December, brought back some moon rocks. India is, made an attempt to land on the moon a couple years back and is going to try again. They're starting their human spaceflight program. Um, and then, Europe is, and Canada and Japan and lots of other countries are all participating in the moon thing. So.
So, do you think collaboration brings more success, or doing it individually? like people are doing out right now would be beneficial or working together, except on the uh, International Space Station.
Yeah, it's like competition is like great because it kind of causes teams to push themselves a little harder than other teams and get us to a better spot. Collaboration's great because we could build on each other's efforts. So, I think collaboration's good in terms of maybe doing projects together and then coming up with common standards, like what's going to be the air pressure inside of the capsule and how do the capsules like dock together. So that way you can actually interface between, different countries and companies, things. Um, the rules about how you're going to operate and the expectations in terms of how you're going to help each other out in case of emergency and how to avoid conflict. I mean, China, it'd be nice to be able to collaborate with them. The thing though is, China has a really closed society in terms of the amount of control they have on the people, the information, and just it's kind of scary in some respects. So
So, I mean, most of might have asked you this question. Would you like to go to the space if there's a chance?
yeah, so before I started this project, the answer would have been yes, definitely. But
Mm-hmm.
as I've been hearing other people's fears, I've
Mm-hmm.
been getting kind of worried myself. In February of this year, there was a drawing. If you donated some money to St. Jude's, you were put into a drawing for a space flight on
Yeah.
this thing called Inspiration 4. It's going in October. I donated some money to that, and I was really hoping. My wife told me that if I won, I couldn't go. So we had some conflict on that. But anyway, um, yeah, I don't know. I'm scared of roller coaster rides. I'm scared of heights. I
Okay.
don't mind flying a small plane. I have my private pilot's learner's license, student pilot's license, and I'm okay with like a Cessna. I have trouble imagining jumping out of an airplane with a parachute. Um, so I mean, I'd probably be like one of those things where I say yes, and then I get in, strapped in that capsule. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. I can't go. Don't send me. Uh, Kind of like Wolowitz on Big Bang Theory whenever he went up to the International Space Station. Yeah, all the astronauts are picking on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's most of the questions I have, I guess.
Well, again, I really appreciate the conversation, and
Yeah.
I have over 1,200 more to do. So if you know of anybody else that's willing to,
Yeah.
um,
Sure. I'll let you know for sure.
okay,
I mean, there are few people who I know. I'll ask them because they're also interested in space and other stuff. So I'll let you.
well, I really appreciate that. Well, you have a good rest of your day, and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll cross paths again.
Yeah. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks for interviewing me.
Okay,
Have
bye
a good day.
bye.
Bye.